In Pokemon, a signature move is a technique that's exclusively learned by a single Pokemon or evolutionary line. A good signature move accentuates the Pokemon's design or lore, like Delibird delivering presents. On the flip side, a bad signature move is one that makes no sense thematically or competitively. Like, why is Exeggutor's signature move a physical normal attack? They saw this special attacking grass psychic type and gave it worse Fury swipes. So since every Pokemon is someone's favorite, I'm gonna create a new signature move for every evolution line. Let's get to it. You probably know by now that Venusaur is partially based on the corpse flower, which is a giant parasitic plant known for its terrible stench. With that in mind, Venusaur's signature move is Pungent Decay. The user shakes its flower, assailing opposing Pokemon with the stench of decay. This attack has a 15% chance to badly poison. I know it'd be hard to dethrone Giga Drain in competitive movesets, but the fact that this is a spread move and that it can badly poison, I think it would have some niche use cases on defensive teams. Charizard, the mortgage payment himself. This entire line, especially Charmander, are clearly inspired by ancient salamander folktales. Scholars used to think that salamanders were born of fire. This idea likely comes from the fact that salamanders would make their homes in damp logs, and when people put these logs on a fire, they would see little salamanders crawl out, seemingly unbothered by the flames due to their wet skin, and assume the fire is what created them. To play into these legends, Charizard gets Cleanse in Fire. The user bathes in fire, cleansing itself of all evils. The user regains a third of their max HP and is cured of all non-volatile status conditions. This move most specifically references St. Augustine's view of salamanders, which is on screen now. Blastoise, who is my man, has generally struggled more than the other two starters in competitive battles. So I had to give this turtle tank the advanced weaponry he needs. He gets Blast Krieg. The user rushes forward with overwhelming force, shelling the target relentlessly. This move ignores stat changes and has +1 priority. This is a reference to Blitzkrieg, which is a military tactic where you rush armies forward with tons of tanks to catch enemies with their guard down. Just don't ask Blastoise who invented it. Butterfree has a bunch of dex entries about the water-repellent powder on its wings that lets it fly freely in the rain, as well as its ability to shake toxic dust into the air. This reminded me of rain dust, which is a phenomenon sort of similar to acid rain. So the signature move is Alkaline Dust. The user spreads water-repellent dust in the air. This move's power is doubled to 100 in the rain. Ideally, Butterfree would also be given access to Hurricane to make it a niche rain sweeper. Beedrill is one of many Gen 1 Pokemon that used to have a signature move before other mons ripped them off. Why does Cloyster learn Twin Needle? In order to keep min-maxing alive, Potentialmon gets Twin Stinger. The user attacks the target, piercing it with both stingers. This move hits twice in a row. If the target faints, Beedrill's attack rises by 2 stages. It's basically a mix of Twin Needle and Fell Stinger. Just doing my part for the Beedrill agenda. Nearly all of Pidgeot's dex entries talk about how incredibly beautiful its feathers are. So even if its hair actually looks like a bleached greasy mullet, Pidgeot gets the signature move Preened Plumage. The user preens its feathers, making them shine. This move raises Pidgeot's critical hit rate and has a 50% chance to infatuate the target regardless of gender. Pidgeot is nothing if not an ally. Raticate used to have sole ownership of both Super Fang and Hyper Fang until Gen 4. My actual suggestion would be to give it Hyper Fang back as an exclusive move and give it 100 base power, keeping Super Fang on other mons like Pachirisu. But if you want an entirely new move, I got you. Raticate gets Rat King. If this move targets a friendly rodent, the target faints and joins Raticate's Rat King formation. Raticate gains 2 stages in every stat except speed. Are there Fearow fans out there for real? It kind of feels like it was made just to fill out the cancelled bird type, but it still has some distinct features we can work with. Fearow's said to have incredible stamina, flying for days without rest, so it gets Pick Clean. The user stabs at the target with their beak. If the target faints, Fearow's healed by 50% of its max HP. This works with Fearow's vulture-esque design and its supposed endurance. In any case, it's better than Aerial Ace. Arbok is all about intimidating its enemies using the pattern on its belly. For this reason, it gets Craven Glare. The user terrifies the target with a menacing stare. If the target has a lower attack stat than Arbok, it's forced to switch out. This would make it the only phasing move that doesn't have negative priority. I think it would work especially well with Intimidate Arbok, and it could have a good niche into slower stall teams. This one might honestly be a bit broken. Pikachu already has Volt Tackle, Floaty Fall, Pika-Papow, Zippy Zap, Splishy Splash, a Gigantamax form, and 2 exclusive Z moves. So of course I have to give it another signature move, Inflate. The user inflates all of its trading card prices to scalper levels, making it so kids can afford cool cards of their favorite Pokemon. Google Pikachu inflation for more information. Sandslash is often depicted rolling up into a spiky ball to attack, so it gets its very own version of rollout. Whirling Curls is a ground move whose power doubles every time it hits for 5 turns. Unlike rollout, it has 100% accuracy, because any flying or levitating Pokemon would dodge it automatically. The King and Queen of Nidos get our first combo signature move, Royal Drill. It works out similar to the Pledge moves. They can be used alone, but they do better together. King Drill is a ground type move, and Queen Drill is poison type. When used alone, they have 80 base power and an elevated chance to critically strike. When used together, the attack becomes Royal Drill. The users form a drill that could pierce the heavens. This attack goes through Protect. The Nidos are both listed as the Drill Pokemon, and Dunsparce's signature move Hyper Drill also bypasses Protect, so it feels fitting. I don't think this move would be good per se, but I think it would make for some fire aura farming showdown edits. Clefable is a fairy from the moon. This thing is clearly a magical girl patron. Her signature move is Magical Conduit. The user lends a shred of its magical properties to its ally Pokemon, boosting their special attack and speed by 1 stage each. Additionally, for the rest of the battle, they sparkle when they attack. Ninetales, if you can believe it, is based on the 9-tailed fox spirits of Japanese folklore. These spirits were tricksters, seducers, and shapeshifters. Think of Naruto's sexy jutsu or Ari from League of Legends. So Ninetales gets out-fox. The user implants an appealing image in the target's mind, dealing damage and having a 50% chance to infatuate. I made it Psychic type because Ninetales has a bunch of other Psychic moves and a handful of Pokedex entries about their mental powers. And I also think having Dark types be immune to this attack, since they can see through spiritual trickery, adds some nice flavor. Now Jigglypuff in the anime is known for one thing: putting people to sleep and drawing on them. It already has access to a sleep move in Sing, so I'm going to focus on the drawing aspect with Prank Doodle. The user draws an embarrassing mustache on the target, lowering their defense and special defense by 1 stage. This move fails if the target isn't asleep. Now obviously this move wouldn't be that dangerous competitively, but it would be worth it just to see how poorly Game Freak would implement the mustache drawing. The alternative is just giving it melee rest. If you've ever read a Golbat Pokedex entry, you know this dude is a born gorger. So Golbat gets Vein Drain. The user clamps down on the target, gorging itself. This attack traps the target for 2 to 5 turns, and heals the user for 50% of the damage. Again, I like the flavor of this move not affecting steel types, since Golbat might not be able to pierce their skin. Vileplume is partially based on the same flower that's on Venusaur's back. Game Freak's really running out of ideas now. Its dex entries focus more on its tendency to paralyze its prey than its smell. So Vileplume gets Pollen Cloud. The user releases highly allergenic pollen into the air, where it hangs for 3 turns. Any Pokemon on either side that switches into the field during that time is paralyzed. Electric types and grass types are obviously unaffected. Honestly, this move might be a little too strong, but Vileplume is a bad enough Pokemon to where I think it would stay a niche use case. It's also important to note that Pokemon that are in when the move is used are not paralyzed, only ones that switch in. If anything, this is probably just a Smeargle buff. Parasect is such a sick idea for a Pokemon that's completely ruined by just the worst stats, and even worster typing. That mushroom really zombified a straight bum. Parasect could get a triple Dragon Dance signature move, and it probably still wouldn't even be good. But what it does get is Germinate. The user sends out spores of itself, hoping, praying really, to take over a stronger host. If any Pokemon on the field is a bug type, the spore germinates in them. A 3-turn Perish Song-esque effect takes place. If Parasect and another target are still alive when this effect resolves, Parasect is abandoned by its parasite, fainting instantly. The opponent's bug-type Pokemon comes under your control in its place at 100% health. Wow, another poisonous winged bug whose whole thing is scattering dust when they fly. They really ran out of ideas with these new Pokemon, right? To keep it fresh, I'm leaning more into Venonat for its signature move Radar Eyes. The user tracks the target incessantly. The user can't miss any attacks on the target until they switch out. This might be nice for lower accuracy powder moves, or to guarantee hitting air slashes, or just for Sand Veil Bright Powder Garchomps. Dugtrio is 3 moles in a hole. Its signature move is, naturally, moles together strong. This is a 3-hit ground move where the hits increase in power like triple axle. This move can also hit targets that are underground for double damage. According to some dex entries, the trio of Dugs think exactly alike, so a triple hit move seemed the most fitting. Meowth and Persian are still the only Pokemon that learn Payday by leveling up. Just let them be sole proprietors again. It literally has Meowth's coin in the animation. Golduck is partially based on Kappas, not the Twitch emote. The Japanese river monsters known for dragging people and livestock to their permanent graves under the waves. For this reason, Golduck gets the aptly named Drown. It's similar to Skydrop in that Golduck drags the target underwater on the first turn of the move, making them both untargetable except by Surf and Whirlpool. Unlike Skydrop, the damage is actually applied on the first turn. On the second turn, the target resurfaces and can act again. If you're still watching, consider leaving a like and subscribing. This is my first long-form video, and I know it's a bit different from the shorts I've been releasing, but I appreciate your time, and if you have any suggestions, let me know. Up until Scarlet and Violet, Primeape was woefully bereft of any signature moves. It didn't even have one in Gen 1, when signature moves were getting passed around like chat restrictions in a ranked League of Legends game. Thankfully, Scarlet and Violet blessed Karibo's angry cousin with Rage Fist, a move that increases in power every time Primate's hit by an attack. It works thematically, it's incredibly strong, and it even helps Primeape evolve into a Kuma. No notes. You might already know that Arcanine was almost a legendary Pokemon, with it being depicted alongside Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno. What you might not know is that he's just a tiny little puppy. Tons of its dex entries talk about how it's able to get people and Pokemon to grovel before it with just a single bark, so it gets majestic reverence. The user lets loose a legendary bark, lowering the defense and special defense of opposing Pokemon. This is probably too strong, but that's my guy, so check out this old-ass Arcanine EX card. Where the hell did Poliwag's mouth go? Pull up a picture of Poliwrath with a mouth. In any case, all of Poliwrath's dex entries are either about it being really good at swimming or having 0% body fat for some reason, so we're gonna borrow some of Poliwhirl's. Staring at a Poly's spiral can cause drowsiness or even put you to sleep, but it's also made of 100% muscle, so Poliwrath gets knockout punch. The user throws a haymaker, flashing its hypnotic stomach. On contact, this move inflicts drowsy on the target. Basically, imagine if Yawn did damage. I think this would be really nice on bulk up sets. Alakazam's magic line kind of has Kinesis as a signature move, but it was deleted completely in Scarlet and Violet, and it's always terrible, so I'll make a new one. They get Now You Don't. The user disappears the target's item, leaving them confused. If the target has a base special attack of over 100, they're not left confused because they know that magic isn't real. This move fails if the target has no item. Machoke is known for wearing a power-mediating belt, though it's said to take it off when fighting extremely strong foes. Machamp wears a similar belt, at least visually, so it gets Belt Drop. The user removes its power-mediating belt, gaining 6 stages of attack. The user is inflicted with permanent confusion, so it can't be cured with a berry or anything. Since Machamp is the big attack guy, it gets the big attack power. I also like that both Machamp and Alakazam have confusion elements in their signature moves, making them even better counterparts. Victory Bell has a freaky amount of dex entries about dissolving prey in its stomach. It also has the hidden ability Gluttony, so I wanted to incorporate berries into its signature move Dissolving Acid. Victory Bell consumes its held berry, gaining the berry's effects and amplifying the dissolving power of its acid. This move can hit steel types. In the anime, Tentacruel and Tentacool can shoot lasers out of their gems. How is this not that dude's move already? B-Beam, a reference to its B-movie-like appearance, allows the user to release a concentrated beam from their head gem, unleashing destructive power. This move instantly knocks out opposing building Pokemon, like that damn Archaludon. Golem tumbles down mountains, leaving grooves from peak to base. Stay clear of these grooves. This dex entry has such a great visual that I had to build the signature move around it. Golem gets Plow Down. The user rolls violently, carving a path toward the target. If the user has used Plow Down previously in the battle, this move has +1 priority. A carved path also increases the power of Rollout. This gives Golem a way to use its incredible rolling speed that we see in the anime, since its base speed stat leaves a bit to be desired. It might even see a bit of competitive play since there are no other priority ground moves, though its terrible typing and setup time would probably make it niche at best.
My God, Rapidash just loves to run.
I wasn't even a big Rapidash guy coming into this, but this horse has some fire dex entries, so I made 2 signature moves. The first is Hot Pursuit. This is a fire type pursuit trapping move that also matches the priority bracket of whatever move the target is using. So if they're using Quick Attack, this has +1 priority. If they're using Protect, this has +4 priority. The second dex entry I liked was at full gallop, its 4 hooves barely touch the ground because it moves so incredibly fast. So I had to give it rapid fire. The user quickens its pace to a sprint, gaining 2 stages of speed and the levitating effect. This one might be decent in singles, but I don't think it's nearly as good as Hot Pursuit. Slowbro is the Hermit Crab Pokemon, so it gets Shell Exchange, a known phenomenon in the Hermit Crab community. The user psionically coerces the target to switch shells with it, dealing damage and swapping all defense and special defense stat changes. Now you might be thinking, hey, wait a minute, that's just a very slightly different guard swap. Well, yes, but this time it's on Slowbro. You understand? Wow, another guy that's just 3 guys. Game Freak's really running out of ideas. Did I already use that joke? Wow, I'm really running out of ideas. Magnetons are said to generate strange radio signals and raise their surrounding temperature. So for that reason, it gets radiation, which is fun to say and fun to use. The user generates strong radio signals, scrambling the target. This deals damage and has a 30% chance to confuse. This move fails if the target is holding a tinfoil hat. Just looking at this Farfetch'd guy has made me like it more, honestly. It technically gets Meteor Assault as a signature move for its Galarian form, but we can give the Kanto bird some love too. Leaning into its identity as a critical hit merchant, it gets Leak Slice. The user launches a flurry of slices at the target's weak points. If this move lands a critical strike, it does double damage instead of 1.5 times damage. Is it enough to make Farfetch'd good? No. Wow, another guy that's just 3. Dodrio's heads are constantly squabbling with each other unless they're eating, but they're also known to plan strategies together, and the strongest head is said to become the de facto leader, which allows it to use Head of the Family. One of the user's heads takes total control, quelling all contradictory thoughts. The user's attack is lowered by 3 stages, and its special attack is raised by 3 stages. This move is very on theme for Dodrio, and would allow it to make better use of Tri-Attack, which I think would be pretty nice. It would also definitely need to get access to more special moves for this to make sense, but I think Air Slash is a reasonable get here. Dugong doesn't really have much going on except for its thick blubber that keeps it warm in freezing waters, so it gets Thermal Release. The user releases all of the thermal energy in its body, launching pure waves of cold outwards. The user loses 2 stages of special defense. If the user has Thick Fat ability, it loses that ability instead of special defense. As part of the pollution trio, Muck represents water pollution. To me, this means that its signature move should be especially effective against water types, so it gets Crude Leak. The user pollutes the target with heavy crude oil. If the target's a water type, this move is guaranteed to badly poison them. Any other type has a 10% chance to get badly poisoned. Not only does this move work thematically, it could give Muck a bit of a stall-breaking niche, as Blissey doesn't appreciate physical moves, and there are a ton of bulky water types that are tough to deal with. Gliscor still mogs it though. From what I've learned, Cloyster is about 2 things: shooting spikes and surviving nuclear blast. So I'm taking the existing move that nobody uses and barely anybody gets, Spike Cannon, and reworking it to be just for Cloyster. To work well with its ability Skill Link, Spike Cannon is now a 20 base power physical water move that hits 2 to 5 times. It probably doesn't need this, given that it's already been banned to Ubers in Gen 5 OU, but I'm trying to make Shelder even more of a menace in Little Cup. Gengar has some insane dex entries. Seriously, look at some of these. Give Up is crazy. A lot of them are about stealing life force, so Clefable's Shadow gets Siphon Life. The user siphons the target's life force, preying on their dark thoughts. This heals the user for 50% of the damage dealt. If you think this move might be too broken for Mega Gengar, read what Matcha Gotcha does as a spread move. I do admit that it might make Perish Song sets a bit too strong, but Wolfie would have just won with them anyways, so... Guess who just learned this thing was designed as a visual pun on the word earthworms? They're said to tear through the ground, absorbing minerals and becoming harder. With that, and the effects earthworms have on gardens in mind, Onix's signature move is Fertilize. The user burrows through the ground, absorbing minerals. The user's defense and special defense are raised by 1 stage each. This move sets grassy terrain. Now I know none of y'all care about Generation 8 Little Cup as much as I do, but this Onix and Grookey core would feed families down there. If Hypno's your favorite Pokemon, drop a comment because I'm not sure you exist, and if you do, I want to be able to put you on a list. This Hypnotist freak gets a sleep move, shocker. With Hypnotic Pendulum, Hypno swings its pendulum, hypnotizing all opposing Pokemon. This move has a 50% chance to confuse and a 50% chance to cause sleep. Yes, this would be incredibly annoying, but that seems on brand for Hypno. Kingler's large pincer has 10,000 horsepower, which I thought was just for cars, but apparently this thing's pincer is running on straight diesel. So of course it gets 10,000 horsepower clutch. The user snaps its target in its claw, squeezing with the power of 10,000 horses. This move always does 10,000 damage to horse Pokemon. I just know a Calyrex rider hates to see Big Papa Pump coming. What does Electrode do in every single game and show it appears in? Explode. Hence, it gets Detonate. The user's unstable electric current ruptures, catching all nearby Pokemon in a catastrophic explosion. The user faints upon using this move. I made it 50 less base power than Explosion, since Electric is a much nastier type offensively, and it relies on Electrode's higher special attack stat. I still think it would be a good move choice for Electrode, though hopefully not too broken with the presence of ground types and Protect. Exeggutor technically has a signature move called Barrage, but it doesn't really fit him thematically. It was removed in Gen 8, and like Kinesis, it's completely useless. And as another 3-headed Pokemon from Gen 1, it might take some design influence from Buddhist Asuras, 3-headed beings who are beholden to their passions. For this reason, I'm giving Exeggutor 3 passions. The user sends psychokinetic energy from each of its heads, inflaming the emotions of the target. The first hit has a 10% chance to confuse, the second has a 10% chance to sleep, and the third hit has a 10% chance to leave them taunted. Each hit represents an emotional response, since Exeggutor's manipulating the target's mind. Cubone is my favorite Pokemon ever, but it's had like 4 signature moves over the course of the series. And Bonemerang is already so sick. The Hitmons have had a few signature moves like High Jump Kick and Mach Punch, but they always get stolen away by other Mons. So Hitmonlee gets Roundhouse Kick. The user snaps its leg, catching the target off guard. This lowers the target's defense by 1 stage. I mostly just want to see the animation of Hitmonlee's legs stretching out like an arms fighter. Conversely, Hitmonchan gets Peekaboo Punch. The user does a quick jab and then raises its own defense stat by 1. This is a reference to the Peekaboo boxing style, which is all about keeping your guard up. Did y'all know Bulbapedia classifies Lickitung as an amphibian? That information does not feel good in my body. Lickitung gets Sticky Tongue. The user licks that tongue at the target, eating their berry and gaining its effect. This attack has a 10% chance to paralyze. Tongue is apparently used for reaching for berries and capturing prey, so I think this fits pretty well. As part of the pollution trio, Weezing represents air pollution, so its signature move should reflect this. It gets Toxic Fumes. This move is guaranteed to badly poison a flying type, and it has a 10% chance to badly poison anyone else. I admit this probably isn't as good as Muck's move, but it might still have a niche in VGC as a neutralizing gas Pokemon that can guarantee poison most Tailwind setters. No, I'm not gonna do it. It's said that Rhydon polished their horns by bashing them together. In my mind, this is like Muay Thai fighters kicking trees to fracture their bones so that they heal back stronger. So Rhydon gets Fortified Horn, a -3 priority move. The user hardens its horn before attacking the target. Anyone that makes contact with the user during this process raises Rhydon's attack by 1 stage. So it functions similarly to Toucannon's Beak Blast. Chansey's signature move is Soft Boiled. While other Pokemon had access to it in Gen 3 with a move tutor, from Gen 4 onwards it's sole property of the Chansey line, and they really don't need any viability help. Tangela's move is Ticklish Tendril. Say that 5 times fast. The user wraps the target in vines, dealing damage and lowering the target's attack, defense, and speed by 1 stage. Apparently Tangela's vines are ticklish when they ensnare you, so I thought it'd be fitting to add the effect of the move Tickle with lowering speed. This could give Assault Vest Regenerator Tangrowth some usage. And shout out to Plants vs Zombies for copying Tangela's entire swag. egg. Several dex entries mention that Kangaskhan will never give up when protecting its baby, so it gets Mother's Resolve. This move to me is the equivalent of when a mom can lift a car up to save her trapped baby. If the user is below half max HP, the user's attack, defense, and special defense are raised by 2 stages. The user can no longer switch out. It does seem a bit broken, but having to be below half health is a pretty big ask, though it might be too good on Mega Kangaskhan in singles. Seadra and Kingdra are described as these unkempt forces of nature that not even man-made structures can withstand. So Seadra's signature move is M-Prey. Seadra's signature move is Maelstrom. The user generates a devastating whirlpool by rapidly spinning its body. This attack hits all nearby Pokemon and is always super effective against steel types. I'm just imagining Seadra ripping boats apart. I would also love to hear PokeTubers attempt to pronounce this move. Y'all remember when Juan's Seaking absorbed Pikachu's Thunderbolt? It's kind of the only thing Seaking has ever done, so it gets Insulating Horn. The user attracts electricity to its horn before striking. The turn this move is used, the user is immune to electric type attacks. This lets Seaking use Swift Swim instead of Lightning Rod and still be immune to electric when it needs to be. Apparently Starmie's from space and I never knew. So it gets Shimmering Core. The user's core glows with a bright, multicolored light. This move has a 30% chance to infatuate opposing Pokemon. If the user's ally is an extraterrestrial, they gain 1 stage of special attack. Despite being gender unknown Pokemon, Staryu, Starmie, and Mew can all learn Attract in Gen 2, which just fails if they use it. This move rectifies that, and it's supported by the sheer number of dex entries that are people fawning over its core. It's also said that it sends radio waves to space, hence the hidden passive of the move for alien Pokemon like Deoxys. I don't think this move is really good at all, but the flavor is exquisite. Mr. Mime has to have a move that makes an invisible box. I don't make the rules. It learns Barrier at level 1, Reflect and Light Screen, can block Pokeballs in Legends Arceus, and is straight up a mime. So it gets Kinetic Cage. The user sets up a psychically empowered box, preventing the target from switching out or fleeing. This move disables pivoting moves and works on ghost types. It's mean look, but there's absolutely no escape except death. You're trapped in the box with Mr. and you're gonna have fun. Scyther's surprisingly hard to think of a move for. Most of its dex entries are just about how quick of a little bug it is. But I landed on Hanging Scythe. The user ambushes the target, striking violently. If the target has below half HP at the start of the turn, this move has +1 priority. This move always ignores redirection. This move is a reference to the praying mantis's ambush hunting style and their extremely fast strike speed. It's kept at 60 base power to keep a technician boost. Jinx, thankfully, already has a signature move in Lovely Kiss. It's also completely broken if you're ever doing a Crystal playthrough. Beats over half the Elite Four by itself. Electabuzz's signature move is Everyday Low Prices at Giant Tiger. Electabuzz's signature move is a combo attack with its counterpart Magmar, because I think combo attacks are cool. Kindled Bolt allows the user to unleash a punch with the force of bottled lightning. When paired with Magmar's Sparked Flame, which allows the user to unleash a stream of energy with the force of a wildfire, they become Natural Disaster, a move that's both fire and electric types simultaneously. This means it would only be resisted by fire and rock. It also hits both opposing Pokemon. Pinsir gets Mandible Claw. The user clutches the target in its large horns, dealing 1/8 of its max health until it switches out. It's a wrestling reference, which I think makes sense given its access to Seismic Toss and Submission. Leave a comment if you can think of a better move for Pinsir. I feel like he deserves more than this, but I was drawing a blank. Tauros actually just got a signature move as of Scarlet and Violet with Raging Bull. It's a 90 base power physical move, whose type changes based on which Tauros is using it. It removes Light Screen, Reflect, and Aurora Veil. Works for me. We all probably know by now that Magikarp and Gyarados were influenced by a popular Chinese myth where the Jade Emperor promises recently aggravated carp that if they can leap over something called the Dragon Gate, they'll be transformed into dragons. Only the most determined and resilient carp can endure the sheer waterfall and attain the Jade Emperor's blessing. Gyarados is one of those carp that attained dragon status, so it gets Jade Emperor's blessing. The user faces its obstacles head-on and is rewarded by the Jade Emperor. This raises the user's attack and speed by 1 stage and applies the Endure effect on the user. This move is hopefully balanced by the fact that you can't use it twice in a row since it follows Protect rules. In a double battle, you also wouldn't be able to protect the turn after. It might be too strong in singles though. Lapras is the transport Pokemon, and its entire identity is ferrying people and things across water. When's the last time you saw a Lapras in the anime that wasn't currently carrying or about to carry a person on their back? The move writes itself. Lapras gets Fairy. The user places the target on its back, making it immune to water type attacks until either the target or the user switch out or faint. This would allow Lapras to use Surf in double battles without hitting its teammate, and you could also use it on enemy Dynamaxed Colossal so it can't get Steam Engine or Weakness Policy boosts. That's kind of fun. By some cruel jest of God, Transform is not the signature move of Ditto. It's also given to Mew, who I guess is Ditto's biological father. But there's not much else that Ditto's known for, so thinking of a move is not gonna be easy. Ditto gets Snort Powder. If the user's holding a Quick Powder or Metal Powder, it consumes the item nasally and gains 1 stage in every stat. The user then loses 1/16 of its max HP every turn. It's the only Pokemon that can use the Quick and Metal Powder items, so you can't tell me it ain't horking some Patrick Bateman Angel Dust. Controversial take alert. I'm giving Eevee Hidden Power. I've been aching for its return ever since that move was unduly ripped from our hands. It makes sense for Eevee given its latent elemental affinity. You could even make it so Eevee can only get hidden power types that it has an evolution for. This would help out my man Jolteon, who really misses his ice coverage. And I would also give it the Terra Blast upgrade where it becomes 80 base power and takes either of the user's higher attacking stats. Finally, Flareon gets some love. Believe it or not, Conversion and Conversion 2, despite the clear name homage to Porygon 2, are not exclusive to this line. As of Scarlet and Violet, Kecleon also learns them by level up, so Porygon gets a new one. Reprogram allows the user to slip into cyberspace and reprogram the battlefield, reducing the length of all field effects by 2 turns. This would include Weather, Trick Room, Terrains, Screens, and Tailwind. I think this could be a really funny VGC niche with a bulky Porygon 2. Omastar is a Nautilus, which means it gets to CC or AD carry for 6 straight seconds. It gets Smash Shell. The user cracks the target open, lowering their defense and special defense by 2 stages. Since Omastar is known to crack Shelter shells and suck out the insides, it gets an inversion of the move Shell Smash. Omastar also learns Shell Smash, which sounds incredibly similar, and I want more people to misclick in my games. They could not go a single generation of Dex entries without saying this dude sucks up its prey's fluids. Kabutops' #1 pastime is sucking fluids, so it gets Imbibe. The user drains the target's fluids. It gains 1 stage of attack, and the target loses 1 stage of attack. If the target had a boosted attack stat to begin with, Kabutops steals every boost. Ain't nobody clicking belly drum in front of this beast. Aerodactyl is said to have fangs that can shred skin, specifically even the skin of steel types, so it gets Serrated Fangs. The user rips into the target with saw-like fangs. This is always super effective against steel-type Pokemon, who are understandably not used to having shredded skin. I just love to make a rock move with 100 accuracy. Gets me going. You might think this one would be easy since Snorlax is such a ubiquitous Pokemon. While yes, it does appear a lot, every Dex entry basically just says that its body's a machine that turns food into sleep. This doesn't leave a lot in the interesting move department, but here's what I came up with. Hibernate lets the user enter a deep state of hibernation, healing itself to full HP and changing its ability to comatose. This fails if the user cannot fall asleep. This fits with Snorlax's nature, and it has a distinct use case versus rest. If you need to heal up multiple times, you'd still want to use rest. But if you want to become immune to burn, poison, and paralysis, this move might be better. I feel like this could make Snorlax more of a monster in Gen 3 and 4 OU. You know what I reckon? I reckon the 3 legendary birds should all get matching moves. Is this a bit lazy because I'm at the end of my rope with this script? Potentially. Is this video just playing next to your head while you lie unconscious in bed? That can be our little secret. Articuno gets Sleet Wings, Zapdos gets Crackling Wings, and Moltres gets Charred Wings. These are all 70 base power special moves, and they set up Snow, Rain, and Harsh Sun respectively. I think a move that does damage and sets up weather is probably broken, but at least it's on a legendary, right? Let me make up for those 3 with some more lore dropping. Dragonite, at least in its coloration, could be based on the yellow dragon in Chinese mythology, who is an incarnation of the Yellow Emperor. This gives it an interesting analogous history with Gyarados, who many fans believe should have its evolutionary line swapped with Dragonite due to their physical similarities. The Yellow Emperor is thought to be the inventor of boats, and Dragonite is well known for guiding hapless sailors back to shore. With all that said, here's Dragonite's signature move. Dragonite gets Dragon Explosion. Dragonite blows its opponent up because he's freaking awesome. But for real, Dragonite gets Guiding Light. The user rejuvenates itself and its allied Pokemon, resetting their stat changes to 0 and healing them for 1/4 max HP. This could be nice for Draco Meteor sets, or just as a support Pokemon. Mewtwo already has a signature move with Psy Strike, which I think fits it thematically. I would make one small change to it, where instead of always hitting defense, it would calculate which defense is weaker and attack that. So if it hits a Mega Aggron, it would hit special defense, and if it hits Blissey, it would hit defense. Mewtwo's cold, calculating, and finds weaknesses in its opponents. As the progenitor of all Pokemon, potentially, I don't know how Arceus works, and the only Pokemon not named Ditto to be able to learn Transform, Mew's signature move is fittingly versatile. I'm also somewhat basing it on a Mew EX attack from the card game, which is something I definitely should have looked into more for the other Pokemon, but only thought of right now. Look forward to part 2, I guess. Mew gets genome hacking. Mew recalls the genetics of each Pokemon in the battle. This move opens up a menu of each other Pokemon's signature moves, and Mew can pick any of those moves and use them. This would never fail, since in my version of the game, every Pokemon has a signature move. I think it'd be really cool to see what you can pull off with this thing. And that's it for Gen 1. I've got a new appreciation for a ton of these Pokemon just through reading their dex entries, reading about the things they were based on, and staring at their sprites while I rack my brain for a move. So I highly recommend you go to the Bulbapedia pages of random Pokemon just to look at them, and you might find you have a new fondness for old Tangela sprites, or you might curse Game Freak for how badly they messed up Rhydon's evolution. So let me know if you want me to keep going. I hope you enjoyed my first long-form video. I know it might be more serious than my other ones, so let me know what you think. Pokemon is sick. See ya.